Gruesome Magazine.
Welcome to Decades of Horror in the 1970s.
I am ready to return, but understand I shall use undreamed-of measures to conquer the evil.
This is episode 148, recorded September 6th, 2021. And since we did everything out of order, I am your host, Doc Rodden, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host, Jeff Mohr, and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. And of course, joining me tonight is my co-host, Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, and I never get stuff out of order, do I, guys?
But I see what you're doing.
Okay.
I'm good. I got this.
He's using that reverse psychology on us, guys.
I took my monthly shower today, using the Rasputin plan of personal hygiene, and I found this hairy patch on my back with scaly skin. You think I should go to the doctor?
It's the devil skin.
Let me smell it and lick it and see, make sure.
No. Stay away from that. All right. Also joining us tonight is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, and special effects guru, and of course, all around a nice guy.
Yeah.
Satan Claus himself, or Santa Claus, one or the other. How you doing, sir?
I was doing fine till I started having to have visual images of hairy patches on Jeff's back, and I'm fine. Yeah.
Don't forget the licking and smelling.
And the licking and smelling. Thank you for
smelling. Oh, who is that saying that? It is Chad Hunt. He's also joined tonight. He's comic book artist, host, Decades of Horror, the classic era, and a runt. How you doing, Chad? How you doing?
Did he say runt?
Runt.
Okay.
Welcome to the show.
We've met in person. You know that's not true.
I know it's not true. But I'm still gonna.
If you're standing next to Jeff, everyone's alive.
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm good.
Oh my. Oh. All right. Well, I am very happy to introduce Daphne, who is awesome, stupendous, and likable as hell. How you doing?
Hey guys. Yay, 70s. Super excited.
Yes. This is your second appearance on 70s and the first time with Doc, I believe. Is that correct?
Is it?
Yeah, we did a secret episode.
You did the haunting of Julia when you were gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
She filled in for you.
But it was the green slime.
It was the
Classic
one about
era.
the many Hitlers. Wasn't the many
green
Hitlers?
slime.
We did many.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you did the Boys of Brazil too.
Right, because I was gone for that one. So usually we bring her on when someone's missing, but this time it's just because we like having her on.
And that was Bill's pick, and he took.
I know.
On that one. He cheesed it.
I am so.
I've been distracted. I can't count. It's my bad.
That devil skin. It
It's that devil skin. See, I never get confused or distracted. All right. Now that we've gone full circle, what are we talking about tonight? We're talking about a film called Blood on Satan's Claw from 1971. It's not a possession film. It's a Satan film or a witchcraft film. It's a thing. It's a thing. We're going to talk about it tonight. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to remember if I've actually seen this or not. We'll get to that here in a second, but good gosh, this movie is bonkers. What we're going to do is we're going to do just that. We're going to start off by saying, when did we actually see this film? What was our first impressions? And that will be spoiler-free-ish. And then we're going to get into a deep dive discussion about it. We're going to get into all the goodies. You're going to love that. And then we're going to wrap things up. And then we have some feedback after that, right, Jeff?
We do indeed.
I'm excited about that. But what film, ladies and gentlemen, are we talking about? Satan's Claw. I see you, you see me. There's
worm on Satan's eye.
On Satan's eye. Directed by
the toughest eyeball whatever done lived.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
A special eyeball.
Usually the first thing to go, but
not here.
Nope.
Which makes it especially frightening. Directed by Piers Haggard, written by Robert Wynne-Simmons, with additional material by Piers Haggard. And I have cast includes, but is not limited to Patrick Wymark, Linda Hayden, Barry Andrews, Michelle Dotrice, and Wendy Padbury.
I like those little eggs she makes with the
Padbury.
chocolate. Oh, Padbury.
All right, it is produced by Tigan British Chilton Film Production, released in the U.S. on April 16th, 1971, and in the U.K. in July of 1971. That's interesting that it's a
it is here first.
First, yes. The budget is about 196,000 U.S. and it's also known as The Devil's Skin, The Devil's Touch, and Satan's Skin. The synopsis is horror thriller set in the 17th century England about children of a village slowly converting into a coven of devil worshippers. And that's true.
Fair enough.
All right. Before we get into this, if you are watching this review, we want to thank you, and we hope you enjoy this review and many others that we have on the site. Check them out. If you would like to help us, hit the subscribe button down below or share with a friend. Both do wonders. Of course, hit the like button. Yay! And the bell if you want to know about further ones. And of course, most of all, we want to hear your comments down below. What did you think of this film? Oh, goodness gracious. Where do we start? Well, I think we should start with Daphne. Daphne,
yes.
When did you first see this film? And what, pray tell, was your first impression of Blood on Satan's Claw?
Well, I saw it last week, and I really liked it. There were a couple of parts that I thought were a little dorky. I guess we'll talk about those. Maybe they didn't, stand up, but I actually really liked it. This movie is super 70s, which makes me feel really good. And I liked the creepiness of the atmosphere of the, the woods and the environment. And I loved a lot of the shots that were in the different camera shots that were in there. And I really liked it. I thought it was really creepy and really good. And I thought it was an excellent 70s movie. Like I said, there was some stuff, but for the most part, I thought I liked it. It makes me really want to learn more about folk horror and stuff like that. I really like that, how it incorporated that kind of, I don't know what the term is, or if you guys know if there's a term for it, but where it's like the ordinary exists with the kind of supernatural and people just kind of live in that world in between.
Like magic realism.
Something like that. Yeah. I love stories that are like that. And so I really like this one, and I was really excited to watch it and talk with you guys about it.
Nice. Bill, go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that cosplay for us, or is that just to do?
No, she dresses like this every Monday.
Yes, awesome.
I tried to do my eyebrows, but I just didn't have enough stuff.
Oh my gosh,
because those were awesome.
You ran out of mascara. It would have taken a while. Yeah.
Watch your back, gentlemen.
I like the stuff in the hair. Yeah.
You were potting the other day. Did you have some garden shears you could use?
Well, I told you, look out.
Don't make her repot anything.
Don't make me repot you.
Oh, no. That's a different movie. All right. Bill Mulligan, sir. This should be interesting. When did you first see Blood on Satan's Claw?
I saw this on TV. It didn't get shown very often, but I saw it on TV. I thought, as I do now, great title. I mean, amazing title. And the opening with the worm on the eye, I'm like, ooh, this is creepy. I wasn't really all that crazy about it, but I realize now, having watched it yesterday, that they must have cut out massive amounts of this film, because I didn't have a clue that there were any nude scenes. And especially one scene that I don't even remember being in the movie, and it's kind of critical to the movie, what's happening. Not the nudity is critical, but the scene itself, kind of drives things forward. So the movie just seemed kind of weird and chopped up, and a strange ending that I'm still kind of puzzled about. But I'm all about Hammer, And if I can't have Hammer, I'll take Amicus or Tygon. You know, there's something about those British 70s, 60s, and 70s films that I just like. It's got a good music score, very Hammer-esque. But it does show you where something that Hammer had that the others never really got. There's a look. There's just a look to a Hammer film, kind of a richness, the lighting, the camera movements. I don't know. Everything else seems significantly lower budget. This one doesn't have, you know, just sort of has a kind of a washed out cinematography look compared to Hammer. I mean, it's well made. So it's a curious film. Now I've kind of gotten into folk horror, and this is considered one of the big three: Wicker Man, Blood on Satan's Claw, and Witchfinder General. So it's kind of gotten more and more attention, and I kind of like it a little more every time I watch it. I'm still a little puzzled by some of the choices they make. The ending. I just say outright, the ending. I don't understand. But it's an interesting little film, and definitely worth seeking out, I think.
Yeah, I will. Well, yeah, maybe. All right, Chad, sir. When did you first see Blood on Satan's Claw, and what was your first impression?
Yesterday.
All my troubles seem so far away.
Now we are royalty somewhere.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, maybe not the way you sang it.
Yeah, we're safe.
We're hoping.
This is the first time I've seen the whole movie. I've avoided this movie in video stores and
avoided
stuff like that. I did. I would rather see back then in the beginning of video stores. I would rather see a monster movie than this type of film. Plus, I thought it was the sequel to the Patch Above Satan's Butt Crack, which wasn't very good.
No.
That one was not so good. So I decided to skip it for a while. But I watched it yesterday for the first time, and it was not the sequel to Patch Above Satan's Butt Crack. This was a better movie than that, I think. It was an interesting movie. I liked some of the cinematography in the woods, disorienting type stuff, and you didn't know where they were going. It was probably shot on an acre of land, but the way they shot it, it looked like it was a different location everywhere. But for a monster or like a horror movie like this, it reminded me a lot of Midsommar or whatever you call it. That kind of folk horror stuff with the little flowers in the hair and that kind of thing. But I dig this movie. I thought it was the idea behind it that to reconstruct this demon, they had to grow patches of his skin on the follower's body. I thought that was a kind of a cool idea, and I don't think we've ever seen that idea portrayed in a movie before. So I thought it was a great idea. I even like the actors in it, especially the girl that played Angel. So I thought she played a pretty evil. I don't know how old she was. Well, I hope she was old enough.
No, she wasn't
for this movie.
She was 17. Yahtzee.
Nasty.
Yahtzee.
Yeah.
Okay. But I really dug. I thought I really dug her character, I should say. It wasn't your run of the mill kid like Isaac from Children of the Corn, I'll say. But she was, and those eyebrows, man. those eyebrows just man, it was just awesome. But I really like this movie. I like I can't say it was scary, but it was definitely entertaining and kept me watching it to see what was going to happen next. And like Bill, I was confused by the ending as well. But that was my first impression. Oh, and the monster looked like a sandblasted platypus.
That's an interesting description.
It's an accurate metaphor.
Well, it's what I imagine one would look like.
I don't even know where to go with that. Jeff Mohr, sir. When did you first see Blood on Satan's Claw, and what was your first impression?
Well, this is the first time I've seen it, and I kind of picked it because I wanted to see it, and because it's known as the one of those three sort of landmark folk horror films. I loved, like Bill, I love the opening scene, and this movie has really interesting sound stuff going on in it, like the sound of the wheel, the plow being pulled and crunching the earth and everything. That just was, I don't know. It was well done. But I kind of, in reading about this, I found out why, but I kind of felt like the first section where the guy shows up with his fiance at the judge's house, it's his uncle, I think. And then things go awry. I didn't really feel connected to the rest of it.
Yeah.
It sort of had a similar theme, but there was no explanation at all for how that happened, I guess, other than, Ralph finding what he found when he was plowing set everything off, I guess. Other than that. And I guess it was originally intended for 3 different stories, and then they tried to combine
that's
them
what they
all.
say. And that does explain a little bit of the weird story structure.
Yeah. But I enjoyed it, and I would have liked to seen a little more graphic, I guess. Although the devil's skin shaving, cutting, skinning scene was actually kind of cool, I thought.
Yeah.
Although it was really gross when the judge sniffed it. That was just uncalled for. Because he knows what devil skin smells like, I guess. I don't know.
And tastes like, apparently.
Yes.
I think
prerequisite. Yeah.
That tastes like chicken.
Dog.
Satan jerky.
I enjoyed it. The music was irritating. I thought that same little 4-note dee 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 over and over and over through the entire movie got a little old for me. Sometimes it worked, but I don't know. So anyway, yeah, I enjoyed it, but it's a little quirky in some of the areas.
Yeah, that it is. I remember seeing some of this movie, but I must have gotten bored and turned it off because I don't remember the entire movie. The latter half, I don't remember at all. I'm going to say, other than seeing some of it, this week was the first time I actually saw the entire film.
Yeah.
And it is very interesting, and it's interesting in a lot of ways that don't really apply to the movie itself. It applies, for me, it's where it sits in cinematic history, being part of the 3 films and stuff like that. The movie itself, I found very disjointed. I wasn't really sure who the protagonist was, because it kept shifting.
Good question.
It kept shifting. At times I wasn't sure who the antagonist was. I mean, it was supposed to be Angel, much of the time, but then sometimes it was these boys and sometimes it was somebody else. And it was very strange and disjointed in that way. So for me, that kept making me work to keep interested. I was able to, and I did, make it through the film. But yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of this film. But at the same time, like I said, because of its significance in the horror history, I enjoyed it and I liked it, but not really certain it worked for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has issues.
Well, and I don't remember who said it, but some of the camera work was interesting. Like when they had Mark with the blindfold playing, I don't know what he was doing, blind man's bluff or something, and the camera was circling all around him. Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool because you'd come back around and see Angel standing in the alcove, kind of under the archway, that helped orient what was going on. I enjoyed that.
I think part of it is that the director, openly says he was not a horror director and actually didn't watch horror movies. So he brings, if you're a horror fan and you make a horror movie, there's certain, I don't want to say cliches, but certain tropes that you're probably going to use because that's what horror movies have. So it's interesting to see someone who doesn't have that background make a horror movie. It doesn't look the way horror movies usually look, and that gives it a certain interesting quality. It may hurt it in terms of being a movie you want to watch over and over again, but it definitely has an interesting look. But the story structure is odd, and yeah, there's no protagonist, there's no true antagonist. I don't know who I'm supposed to root for. The stick up his butt teacher, the preacher, the judge who's like at the beginning and the end. And I feel like if I made this movie now, if I had to remake this movie, the most interesting thing about it was something that only sort of got touched on, where as the judge is leaving, he basically tells them, let things get as bad as possible, because that's the only way we're going to bring it out. So you have to accept the fact that things are going to get really, really horrible, but then we'll know who's on what side, and then we'll come swooping in and save it. And that's an intriguing plan, one that has lots of interesting possibilities. But that's not what we really got, and we'll talk about that ending, but we got to talk about that at some point. Let's just jump on that ending, because
well, now that I know that it was perhaps going to be an anthology, that makes a lot more sense, because even though I really like this film, I did notice those things about the story structure, like characters disappear, like characters seem to be really important and vital.
What happened to that aunt? Did she just like wander off and we never found her again?
The preacher, what happened after the preacher? Yeah, and so I was kind of a little. I was still able to follow the story, but I definitely noticed these main characters kind of disappearing. So that explains a lot, actually.
Well, there's a couple of times where people just sort of, I don't know, like apparently some amount of time passed, or somebody is like transported somewhere. I mean, that Ralph he's like upstairs,
right,
in that house looking at his leg, and then in the next scene he's at the altar or whatever,
church,
and they're
participating in that. Yeah, I know. I was wondering about that too.
Magically.
Now, I will say that there are parts that I really like that I thought were unnerving, that were more like what we would expect out of a horror movie. In the attic, when I don't know what the character's name is. Which one is it? Is it Mark Vespers? Or I don't know which one is which, but it's the one that ends up chopping off his hand. But when he goes up there after his
Peter, I think.
Yeah, Peter, after his fiance, is whisked away as a lunatic, and we never hear from her again. But the floor is bouncing up and down, and you see that claw come out. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really well done, and I loved he just put a box on it, right?
Yeah, sure.
he just put a box on it.
Yeah.
And I noticed that our guy at the end knocks that box away, and then the board comes up, and then it cuts away. And I'm wondering if the claw thing that was in the basement or underneath the floorboards whisked him away. I don't know. I'm making shit up now, but it felt like that, right?
There's no real explanation about how the devil's skins or claws or whatever it is are imposed onto somebody. There's all these people running around holding their back or their leg or whatever, and they get a patch of devil's skin. But how did that happen? Apparently Angel just stares at them with her
how they get the hair?
Blue eyes.
She pulls some hair off her eyebrows and sticks them on, and it just grows like crabgrass.
So, and then same thing with anyway. Yeah, how did she get the claw? The thing just looked at her and she was in the presence. I don't know.
That whole opening scene really feels like a short film that got tacked on at the beginning. I mean, it would stand by itself. It's brings the bride home. She's got something happens, and then she goes to the insane asylum. The end. That was pretty cool. I don't know what the middle story was, except maybe the kids turning into devil worshippers and doing terrible things to each other. And I didn't see a third story at all.
Well, I think the the part where the judge finds, finally buys into the book That seemed really cut short and truncated to me.
Yeah, it's like the third. They had no time left, so they just hit it slow motion.
Yeah, and he brings the magic sword from the Vatican or something with him.
Right? Yeah, he's totally
Mr.
like modernity, Mr. Don't go with superstition,
Right.
and then all of a sudden he knows how to take care of this, and he's going to go talk to somebody and come back.
And I know that was supposed to be that famous witch's book, but it looked to me like it said the Dictionary of Commerce. I was trying to read the title of the thing, and I just couldn't. I missed something.
I liked how they kind of kept going back to the fact that just that Ralph digging up this corpse kind of set this fiend or the spirit in motion. But as far as like why some people got the devil's skin and other people didn't, why some people were killed, why some people joined up, that wasn't really very clear to me.
I thought at the end, what was the guy's name at the end that had the hairy leg?
Ralph.
I thought when he healed after the creature was killed that he had like a cut or something. Was that done beforehand, or did he
I think he cut that when he was cutting down a tree or something?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
And,
well, we noticed that I did. I hope you guys noticed it too, that the devil was hopping around on one leg. Did you guys notice that?
No.
Oh, well,
too busy looking at his face.
He didn't have a leg yet. He only had one leg. So he didn't have the guy.
Well, I saw that quick shot of his bottom of his robe, but I couldn't tell what it was they were trying to show.
He hops when he comes out to the tunnel and faces the judge.
That makes sense.
He goes boing.
So now
I never.
He's getting parts from different people.
Right,
Is that
right,
the deal?
right, yeah,
he got one leg from the one witch that they tried to chuck her in the river.
Yeah.
Where what was it? The Tygon people said you got to put a scene in there like in Witchfinder General, where they drown the witch.
Thinking witch.
So,
I like in all those scenes. Whenever they do that, somebody points out it's like, so if she floats, she's a witch, but if she sinks, she's going to die. And they always the villagers always have that look like that. Never occurred to them. Like, yeah. Oh, there's a flaw in our great plan.
Yeah, all they had to do was ask him, and he would have said, "I just made it up."
Yeah,
and they just whistle and walk away. It's hilarious.
Right.
I can't help but get reminded of
Monty Python
and the Holy Grail. You know, I just look at she's a witch, and then if she's they're like trying to puzzle. She's a witch.
Yeah.
They just want to get a witch. You know.
See, Doc, I hadn't even thought about that hopping on one leg. I thought they were doing like spring-heeled Jack, which is I think the devil's. Yeah, the devil's often been shown as hopping around like a Chinese vampire, but it's like
I never got the idea that they were building adding parts.
It's like build a Satan.
That makes sense.
I kind of got that, but it wasn't. I kind of got that they were taking parts from folks, but it wasn't really obvious why some people, because some of his followers had like there was a guy that had a bandage on his head. Like I don't know if he took his ear, but then there's other people that were killed. So
when the judge wades into the crowd with his sword, did you see there was one woman running away that had a bloody stump?
Yeah,
looked kind of like the guy that had his hand cut off. Now I get it.
Devil should have gone for legs first, because you never know when you're going to need to make a quick getaway.
It's true. It's true.
But he had to go for the claw.
Yeah, the claw.
Think of that.
The claw.
Well, it would have been nice if they would have explained, just a couple of lines explaining that sword or something, that he bringing. I know
no time for that foolishness.
It's just, I'm here to save the day with this.
Right, with a sword, and it looked like could have been anything. They could have used a pitchfork,
like a
or
lightning
something.
Rod.
This thing's supposed to be this demon from hell, an ancient evil, unimaginable, blah blah blah. Gets taken out with a sword. Gets taken out with the same thing that would kill me, and about as easily too. Guy just lifts them up in the air. Strong judge.
Hoisted on his
petards. Yeah, and then
did anybody here buy that when he lifted the monster?
Oh,
Did anybody here show
it was God-given power from a
Yeah.
supernatural source, and I mean, you had to have that in order to lift that sword anyway.
Yeah, I guess.
I thought he stabbed a bag of garbage.
Slow motion gives you those superpowers.
Yeah, slow mo.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't do the Bionic Man.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
There-
Angel basically runs into a pitchfork. She's like
Mhm.
she's like a bad vampire, just
Right.
walking into stakes and stuff. Does the whole Count Yorga thing.
I love the
Hey.
look on the guy's face too. It's like, what'd you do?
You know, the ending just makes you think this movie could have ended at any moment because these folks folded at the slightest bit of adversary. You know, it didn't take an army of soldiers or anything. It just they went out easy.
Which was really disappointing because
Yeah.
they were really creepy. Like some of those kids and some of the actors they got for the young people were really, really creepy. Like the guy who throws a rock and breaks the medicine that Mark's mom
Mhm.
was bringing to him. God, he had some look in his eye that I was like,
Yeah, he
"Ew,
did.
there's
He
something
did
wrong
have a
with
creepy
you."
look.
You know?
I swear
And-
one of them looked like Alfred E. Newman from Mad Magazine.
Yes, he did.
That's,
Yes,
yeah.
he did.
You know what I'm talking about, Doc?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the redhead guy
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
There
Right.
was a
The
ginger.
redhead guy.
It
Yeah.
was a Daywalker. And that's something else. Why I think they could have explored a little more. Why did these kids so quickly fall under the spell? And you could have some good stuff there because let's face it, that was a horrible time to be a kid. It was a horrible time to be a human. It was a horrible time. But these kids are just chafing under this repression and these awful adults who just make rules and they're dumb as sticks. And you could have gotten some interesting stuff there. This was the 70s. Youth was rebelling in real life too. They could have had some of that there, but no, that just got glossed over. I feel like there's a lot of opportunities here that just got missed.
Well,
But those-
and this,
they were still
Piers
really
Haggard-
creepy though.
Yeah, they were. They
I
were.
didn't
They were.
appreciate
yeah.
that.
I mean, we're we're kind of
bashing,
but
yeah.
I still,
But I
it has its
understood.
place in history, and it is.
Yeah. Oh, look,
Definitely
this
worth
movie is so much better. What was that one dreadful one we watched with Vincent Price? Cry of the Banshee.
Cry of the
You know,
Banshee.
I mean, that's another one that sort of plays with some of the folk horror and you know, Wicca, whatever. And we had nothing to say about the movie because it was just dreadful and boring and hacked out. This one, you know, it may have missed the mark, but at least it's got stuff worth, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
marketing.
as we're
It's
talking
good.
about it, I'm feeling a lot more coherent story than I saw, but only from talking to other people and filling in the gaps, kind of, you know, instead of, not that I wanted like a whole exposition storytelling, but
They should have, when
Yeah,
they
so-
decided they weren't going to do the anthology, they should have gone right back to the beginning and said, okay,
Yeah.
here's the elements we want. Let's write a 3-act story like Grown Ups and make a movie that follows those rules. But I guess they ran out of time. Sometimes
and
you
make
got-
sure you throw a witch in the water.
Yeah, toss a witch in the water as one does.
So this guy Piers Haggard didn't really do very many.
No,
movies.
although,
There-
well,
there-
okay.
there you have.
There's 2 of those 3 movies have some interesting things about them, and the other one is the fiendish plot of Dr. Fu Manchu, which I have to say is one of the worst movies ever made. But I think he got called in on that late, and then Peter Sellers kicked him off and directed the rest of it before he dropped dead. What a
Right.
fiasco that movie is. But the Catermass conclusion is interesting, going back to, you know, one of my favorite series. And Venom, not a great movie, but man, the stories behind the scenes are great because you had Oliver Reed and Klaus Kinski in a movie together, and
Oh
they,
my God.
to the shock of everyone, did not get along. A movie about the making of Venom would be one of the greatest horror movies ever. Venom itself is okay.
I'm surprised the world didn't end. An apocalypse. All the booze is gone.
Yeah.
Well, he did lots and lots of TV, and in fact, the
Yeah.
Quatermass was TV, right? It was
It was TV, and then they
episodes.
spliced it together to make a movie out of it. But there was actually a separate script by Nigel Keel to take the TV show and make it into a movie. So they didn't just hack it down, and so that's interesting. He seems like a really nice guy, Haggard, and openly admits horror wasn't really his thing. And
Did you see the? I saw a statement from the guy that played the. What did we say his name was? Was it Peter?
Roger,
the guy that was engaged.
Ralph,
Peter.
that guy.
Yeah,
that was Peter Frampton.
Yeah.
Peter.
Peter
He said that when he was reaching for that knife, you know, when the claw was at his neck, you know,
Yeah.
and he was reaching for that knife, that he was going through all kinds of histrionics, and Haggard cut the scene and said, "Your fingers are overacting." Which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah. So the actor is.
He didn't say that to Klaus Kinski.
No.
Yeah.
Well, not get away with it.
No.
The actor is Simon Williams, which only Chad and I will appreciate. The name.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's just you.
No, Chad does.
Simon Williams.
from
Power
the
Man.
comics. Wonder
Man.
Yes. But he was also in The Fiendish Plot of Fu Manchu, by the way.
Well, can't win them all.
No.
You got to watch that movie if you want to
tell
see a
me
comedy
more.
you will not laugh at once.
Oh, and it's so insensitive culturally.
What was
No,
Wonder Man?
No,
Wonder
Man's
Man
a
was
comic character. So.
Yeah, he was an
He was
Avenger.
an Avenger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the comics, way back.
Yeah.
He'll show up eventually.
Please don't ask us about his story because Chad and I will start telling you all about it.
Oh, that's a 2-hour podcast right there.
I'm just trying to find it on his credits, and I'm not.
What's that?
No,
we're nerding out here. There's no credits.
Sorry, distracting you. What? That
this is the
So
comic.
what, I mean, what did Simon
Williams?
Williams? Oh,
Is it just the name?
Now I got
just the name.
That's going to
It's
take
just-
some
It's just a
editing right
character.
there.
We literally just. I'm sorry.
Way
I
to
didn't mean
derail the
it.
podcast,
I was
guys.
really-
It'd be kind of like if one of the actors' name was Peter Parker, then I would
Yes,
actually
yes,
understand
yes.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
You realize this is why we always sit alone at the lunchroom and everybody else just avoids us.
That's the truth.
You just
Sums it
yell
right
random
up.
names down the lunch desk.
Yeah.
"Look, Simon Williams." They don't.
Even the other nerds avoid us.
I know.
And you make fun of me about sailor uniforms.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Or I did anyway.
Yeah.
Oh.
You did? The nerve. Oh, the nerve.
Well, what about Richard Widmark?
Wymark?
Richard Wymark.
Oh, Richard Wymark, great guy. Not in the
Patrick Wymark?
Here we go again.
Patrick Wymark. Who's Richard
He
Widmark?
was
wow.
good. He was
Wow.
Fantastic Four number 15.
Yeah.
Turns out he was Dr. Doom.
good. What comic book was he in? He was pretty good, you know, but like Bill said, he kind of goes, or Daphne, he kind of goes from being this, you know, scofflaw to
Ooh, there's a word.
I'm all in,
Scofflaw.
right? Well, I mean, it's
He scoffed
about
at the law. Yeah.
well, at the witch stuff, right?
Mhm.
He
Yeah,
found this
what-
thing, and I can only surmise that you are wasting my time.
Right.
What a
Yeah.
lie.
And then all of a sudden on a dime, why didn't we have just like a 30-second, he has a vision or a dream or just something to bring him over. Now, they want Peter Cushing for this role, and I could see Cushing doing it. You know, I could see him pulling that off, going from the doubter, the skeptic to the believer fast, because that's that's Van
a bunch
Helsing.
of other
right there.
people. Was Christopher
Yeah, they
Lee
want Christopher
talking
Lee,
about
but he
this
wanted too much money.
Donald
I
Pleasance.
Yeah,
So I guess Peter Cushing
And
worked
Michael
cheaper than
Gough.
Christopher Lee. Michael
Yeah.
Gough. That would have been interesting. I could see him doing it.
But
But Peter Cushing, it was another one of those
good.
times when his wife was ill, so he didn't take it.
Yeah.
Well, the Patrick Wymark never saw the completed film.
He passed
Oh.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, he
At the
passed
age of
away.
50,
fall
too young.
Yeah.
I definitely bought him as the kind of arrogant judge,
Mhm.
the skeptic kind of guy. But I didn't buy him really as the hero
No.
or
he
the
didn't.
believer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we didn't have reason to really.
Yeah,
All
that's
it
a good
took was
point.
a-
That might have been
The
why.
book,
Yeah.
right? The book, right?
Yeah.
That was the only
Yeah.
thing.
Well, the doctor showed him a picture. All right, right before
Yeah.
that, he says, "Oh, that's nonsense. Witchcraft is dead."
Mhm.
And then he says, "Well, look at this picture. Oh, can I take that book home with me?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's kind
Oh,
of
there's a crude drawing here. I'm a believer.
Well,
So
the- the actor also was in Witchfinder General, so
yeah.
like Cromwell.
Yes.
And again, you could play with some interesting things here because you can see where he's coming from. After all the witch trials and everything else, that stuff was so discredited, and really people were embarrassed by how many folks they killed and just how they let themselves be carried along by this. There was quite a reckoning at that time about how stupid all this was. So you could see where this guy's like, witchcraft is dead, by which he doesn't really mean we killed all the witches. It's like, this was all bullshit. And now we're living in civilized times. Come on. It's almost 1700. So, to have this guy, you could see where he actually would be a skeptic. And then, so, whoa, I guess it was real all along.
And
But
I think it would have been interesting to see that from a 70s perspective, like looking at that kind of changing from superstition to more modern things, and then kind of giving it with a little bit of the grittiness of the 70s and that kind of perspective.
Yeah.
I think you could have been, but
I will say one thing about this film. It does make me feel more than the hammers that are set in that general area. I did get a pretty good feeling that this seemed more realistic. Like when that guy is plowing in the field.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. When I look at that, I'm like, damn, this is like one tiny step above from just taking a stick and shoving it in the ground and digging. It's like, this is so crude and it looks painful and awful, and you're covered in filth and you took a bath once a month. What an awful time to be alive. And I really got that feeling from it. I like things set in the Middle Ages where everyone's clean and perfect and not diseased. Just like, that's not how it was here. Right. And their eyebrows would be big and bushy because they didn't pluck them and do stuff.
More than that.
He was in. So he did a lot of stuff. So here's a guy that was in. There's Tygon. He's in some Amicus. He's in some Hammer. And Walt Disney. He was in the Scarecrow.
I love the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that song. I love everything about that.
One of the first superhero shows.
Dr. Sin.
Dr. Sin.
Dr. Sin, yeah.
Peter Cushing did a good version of that too.
He was in the Skull. I love that.
Oh yeah. Tygon was very hit or miss. When their stuff was good, mostly miss. When their stuff was good, it was good, and when it was bad, it was the beast in the cellar. Another one that the most disappointing ending ever. If you've seen the movie, we'll probably end up hitting it because at some point we got to start scraping the bottom of the 70s barrel, and beggars can't be choosers.
Well, then he was in Repulsion.
Oh, okay.
He played the landlord, but the Skull.
Great movie, evil director, but yeah, great movie.
Yeah.
That movie gives me the creeps.
You could say it's repulsive.
It's repulsive.
I gotta say though, when you were talking about Piers Haggard not being a horror director, that does kind of explain some things that really got my attention just in the opening scenes. We kind of mentioned a little bit the different camera angles and stuff, and I think that really does bring something to this movie that makes it a little bit more interesting visually. And it's interesting that someone who isn't a horror director was able to get into those, like you said, avoiding some tropes. And I feel like it really added to kind of the naturalism of the movie, which maybe because it has to do with regular people and the time, it gave it more of a natural, realistic feeling. So that really, I really appreciate you sharing that, because that's really cool. That kept coming from almost like an outsider perspective of how to film this, and giving it more realism. Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah, because the entire village becomes the character, right?
Exactly. The forest, the dirt in that plow that you're talking about. Anyway, sorry to digress. But.
And then
that was good.
And of course,
I was just thinking, leave it to Daphne.
We digress. It's Marvel Comics 1970, so
And of course, there's Angel. We got to talk about Angel.
Angel.
She was something.
She was something.
She was trouble. She was trouble.
Best Vulcan on the whole show.
With a capital P that rhymes with P.
Yeah,
the Vulcan.
And since Daphne mentioned the movie about the little Hitlers, which I
Little Hitlers.
find it
Heard
interesting
of
that
it.
that's what you think of Boys from Brazil. Linda Hayden was in the movie with the little Hitlers.
Oh, was she?
She
What
had
part
a
did
big
she play?
part, and
A big
I have
part.
no idea. Her name was Nancy, so I don't know if she could have been one of the students in
She could have been one of the mothers.
Laurence Olivier's office. She could have been one of the Nazis down in Brazil. I don't know.
And
I
she
tried
was
to
in
find a
Taste the
picture
Blood
of
of
her.
Dracula.
Yes, almost the same time.
Yeah.
Queen Kong, one of the worst movies.
Almost
Oh my
as
God.
many laughs as the fiendish plot of Dr. Fu Manchu. Queen Kong. Oh Lord, I forgot about that.
She's also in Old Dracula. There's one.
Oh yeah, yep,
Yeah.
Madhouse. That's actually a good one.
yes,
That's a good one.
yes.
Yeah.
I saw that too. I think those four really, and
She looks so innocent in this picture, and she was so evil in. She looked like trouble from the word go. Even before Satan
she
showed
did.
up, she's trouble.
Yeah.
When she finds the finger.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Of course, she's in a movie in '78 called "Let's Get Laid." Hey, there you go.
Wow.
Now I read in here that it was required that she be in this movie or something. Does she have some sort of contract? Or maybe I'm imagining it.
Yeah, no, I heard that too. That was when the director came on board. That was one of the things. I don't know who they would have had instead. I think she's pretty much the iconic image of this film. It's certainly not the Satan costume.
No, she was great. She definitely.
There he is. Oy vey.
Yikes!
Wow. Just yikes is all you can say. I don't know what they were going for.
I think her and the woman who played Margaret, they both really and the creepy guy with the creepy brunette guy who threw the rock at the medicine. I thought were really, really good at acting in their roles. They were obviously Angel had this kind of eroticism to her, but she was just really natural. It wasn't forced at all. And Margaret, oh my gosh, she totally just drank the Kool-Aid and went. I mean, she was in totally.
Yes. Yeah.
And so a lot of the character, I mean, the actors that didn't even have any parts, but those members in that group at the church, the old ones and the young ones, it was like they were so creepy and so real to me. It was, I don't know. I'm not an actor, but they just didn't seem like extras or anything like that. I really enjoyed when they were in the scenes.
Speaking of extras, though, there were some old witchy poos that were really effective, beating on the drums and
I know. And it's like, this is just creepy. Who are these people? What's going on? How did they get here?
Yeah, the old couple amongst all these. There was an older couple right amongst all these.
Yeah,
well, seeing that, at first I thought this was another like children band together and then I saw the older folks in the picture too, and then that kind of fell into place and all that. But
again, the idea that this cult is going to reveal itself as it gets more powerful, but we didn't see that. We didn't see the town being taken over. We didn't see people being given a choice and choosing the wrong thing. I mean, that's a cool premise.
The Reverend's the only one that made a choice, right?
Yeah.
Reverend.
Yeah, but what happened to him?
Fallowfield.
Exactly.
For all the good, if they were going to
Right.
write him out of the movie, they should have had them hang him, kill him, and then
yeah.
realize, oh, we made a mistake.
Right.
Oh well, we'll let God sort it out. But why did they save him at the last minute if he wasn't going to contribute anything to the story for the rest of the film? So puzzling.
Because when he's introduced at the beginning with the snake, he looks like he's going to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to be involved in
has a
some
role.
way.
Yeah, he definitely is. I felt like a main character. It's like all of a sudden, it's like, wait a second, where is he? Where is this guy? Especially when they go back to the church to kill them all, like, of course, aren't they going to want a church guy going back there
Sure.
with them?
I would.
I guess they couldn't get the knot undone in time.
I
don't
guess
know.
not.
Well, yeah.
And another thing too was I kind of mentioned that I really like the atmosphere with nature and how and I think Doc or someone said how it's kind of part of the story too. And I feel like they could have talked more about that too, with like these old folks in this cult. Are they part of this old pagan, the people who have been lived there forever, the part of the folk thing, or maybe not, I don't know, but it just I really feel like they were really successful at getting the nature, the changing of the safe nature to kind of the scary nature. They really got that feeling, that creepiness in the atmosphere. So
I wonder if Clive Barker was thinking of this when he wrote Rawhead Rex.
I was thinking the same thing. It's basically the same beginning as Rawhead Rex,
which is a movie we'll be doing soon.
Plug.
Yeah.
On 80s.
Yeah. Don't expect a lot of love coming from me.
Don't do the plug if you don't mention the show. It's gonna be
yeah.
Well, I thought we were going to change the name of this one to Dad Jokes of Horror from decades ago.
What are you talking about?
Nothing realistic.
We have to have Daphne on if we're going to do a bunch of dad jokes, because we need at least one person who will laugh.
Yes.
Yeah. Nobody laughs at me here.
Sorry.
Okay. So who said Ralph looked like you, Chad? You said Ralph looked like a musician. Who?
Peter Frampton.
Peter Frampton. I was thinking you look like the guy from The Who.
The Who, yes.
Yes,
that's exactly what I was thinking. The singer from The Who.
Roger Daltrey.
Roger Daltrey,
yeah.
Totally. In Tommy, particularly.
Yes. But okay, so I have to ask a question because I got confused.
You're talking to the wrong people.
I know, but it's just 5 confused people. The he starts losing it at the end and hides in the attic because he thinks they're after him. Why?
Because he thought he was next because his hairy leg.
Did he know?
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Did he know he had the hairy leg at the
time?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He knew before he went in the house, I believe.
And that's why the devil is hopping around like a maniac, because the guy with his leg is hiding
in the attic.
Matter of fact, that's what made him look at his leg. Daphne brought up before how he hit his leg when he was whacking the weeds or whatever he was doing.
Right.
And hit himself. That's what made him pull his leg up, and he saw that he had hair on his leg. Well,
I'm guessing the guy with his face is hiding too, because I can't believe that's what he was going for. That's just sad.
You know Satan.
No, I don't.
Well, he's that kind of guy.
Probably pieces of different faces put together, and he didn't get them.
Chose poorly.
You put it on backwards or something.
They put the ass on the wrong end.
Oh, Chad.
And I'd say, hey, you better watch what you say. But no, this guy got taken out like a bitch. So I am unimpressed with Satan, even with his claws. He is an underachiever in this film.
He looked like a bad kitty more than he looked like Satan.
It's definitely anticlimactic ending.
Oh,
and what was with the slow-mo? I
don't know.
Okay, so now when you were watching this, I swear I thought that my TV had gone on the fritz, because it didn't just suddenly go slow. It froze, and then it cut to another shot that froze.
Yeah.
It was like,
Huh?
Mm-hmm. And then it started
moving like freeze frames.
Yeah.
They had a freeze frame on the judge, and then a freeze frame on the crowd, and then it moved into
And it was so bad.
And then after it was over, he goes in the fire, and the guy's leg is okay. And cut to credits, like, wow, this is so. Were you in a rush? Did you run out of money? English films do that sometimes, where you watch the film, and as soon as you come to a resolution, before you even have time to think about it, they immediately, here we go. Here are the actors again.
Well, there was something I think when we did Rasputin, there was something about how they were really hardcore about keeping things at like 90 minutes. And this one runs longer, to the point of cutting things out that
American films don't do that. American films always have, everybody sort of stands around and tells you the lesson of the film. Well, I guess
Well,
it's a bad idea to put human brains in alligators. Oh well, and then cut. But it's like, oh yeah, true. That is true. The last 90 minutes really illustrated that well. So, but the English films, yeah, it's like, okay, that's the story you're meant to tell. Go home.
How long was this movie? Because it did feel like it was not long in a bad way, but I felt
a little
like
over
it was
an hour and a half. I believe.
Was it?
136.
Yeah.
So they were already.
Well, I don't know.
pushing
I
the
can't
limit
remember. You guys help me out. I can't remember if that was Rasputin or maybe that actually sounds more like Corman. Like if you could, you had to get it on. You had to get it on this many reels. If you went this much over, then you had to do another reel, and it would cost this much money to ship to this many theaters.
I think Corman stopped when he ran out of film, and it's like that's the ending.
Right, that sounds like him. But a lot of movies did that, especially the cheaper sci-fi movies and cheaper horror movies. Once it's done, and you got end credits, and they're rolling.
Well, and even
and the
when
monster
you get back
could
to
have
the
just died
50s,
10 seconds ago.
when you get back to the 50s, there aren't any end credits. It's the end, and that's a splash of music, and it's gone. They put all the credits up front. Most of
what happened to these kids? Was all forgiven? Did they just oh, I was mind controlled by Satan? Yeah, that's the ticket. Mind
again.
Yeah. Oh, it's always mind control with Satan with you.
Let me smell your breath.
Did all the hairy things fall off their bodies?
Oh no!
It's sure good. The wealthy white bureaucrat aristocrat came and saved our poor souls. That we finally convinced him to buy in.
I listened to the Audible, the drama. They have the
oh yeah.
I can't think right now what it's called, but like a drama play or something. Yeah. And it was a little bit different. And there were some things about it that were cool. Some things I liked about the movie better. But they did kind of talk a little bit about that some people were kind of released from the mind control, but that Angel wasn't. And she was in an insane asylum. And she was still hearing the voices of the devil, and that the squire, which is what they referred to the judge as, was hearing voices too, and was going to become become a minion of the devil as well, which I didn't really totally understand, because it had to do with the lady who Peter's mom, who didn't want the marriage between him and
his aunt,
his aunt, sorry. And then the judge had this love affair or this attraction to her. And so she died, and they had this connection still. And somehow that had gotten into the judge's head. And so now he had a conversation with Angel at Bedlam, or the insane asylum, where she was like, "You're here because you're one of us. You're one of us." So yeah, so it was kind of interesting.
Oh, I have to check that out.
Yeah, it was. There was some stuff about it that I thought that I liked about the movie better, but it's pretty good. It's only a couple hours.
Yeah, and one of the actresses played a different part in that, right? Didn't I read that somewhere?
Yeah, and I think it was perhaps the actor who played Angel. Although, don't quote me, but I thought it. But she didn't play Angel.
Right.
So, it was pretty good.
Did Hammer fans recognize Milton Reed, the dog handler from some early Hammer films?
Was that him? The guy with the two black dogs?
Yes, the bald guy. Yeah. From what were the movies? Let's get them in here. Terror of the Tongues and Night Creatures.
Yes.
Night Creatures is a great movie.
And then he was in Dr. No as well. He was one of Dr. No's guards, but uncredited. But he was uncredited in this as well.
Was he the bald guy or the other guy with the dog? He was? Okay.
Yeah. I think he's mute, or at least he was portrayed as mute, because he screams but doesn't scream.
And he was another character too. It's like, is this some kind of like supernatural witch hunter that the judge went and got back from London? He's got these dogs, but
we don't know.
Nothing.
Well, what was the quote that we were thinking about using where the judge says he was going to do what?
Yeah.
Because it was so disappointing, right? Because
Undreamed of measures.
Undreamed of measures.
To conquer the...
Yes.
Unless you've dreamed of a sword at some point, then dreamed of measures.
I was curious, like, wow, this is going to get interesting.
I was thinking sword, but I never dreamed it would be that big.
Yeah, it was.
It looked like they rode by and knocked it off the church steeple.
Right. Give me something.
Almost,
give me a glaive or, I don't know.
Then they covered it up, so it'd be a mystery.
You didn't hear the devil go, "Oh, what's under the blanket?"
Yeah. Oh, no. A sword.
Is that what I think it is?
Is that a church steeple in your pocket, or you just glad?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Dad jokes apart.
Oh my, this has gone south. All right, let's wrap this up because we do have some feedback. So I want to know your recommendation about this film. Does it deserve to be part of the 3? And when it gets to Bill, I want more about his remake. I want to know. I want to know. All right, Daphne, you're first.
I'm sorry. What was I supposed to talk about? I don't know if it lives up to the other. I don't know if it lives up to the other 2, but I liked it, and I was disappointed by some things, but I really liked the story. I wish that they would have had covered some other things. I thought that the creepy feeling that they totally got that visually. The kids were as creepy as hell. The rape scene really creeped me out. I thought it was I really liked this movie, actually, aside from the weird things in story and stuff like that. And now that I understand a little bit about it being anthology, that kind of makes some sense. But I was disappointed by some things, but I liked it. And I don't know if I can compare it to the other 2, but I'm glad that I saw it and I can kind of look at it in that trio, and then maybe how it may have inspired other kind of folk horror things. And that I really appreciated about it a lot. There was some really good, interesting acting that I liked a lot in it. And I really thought the getting off the devil's skin on Margaret I was just like, I thought that they did really good on that. And I didn't know what to expect. And they did really good on that. So I liked it. I would recommend it.
There you go. Quentin Tarantino says he's got one good film left in him. I want to. Maybe he should remake this because of the weird story structure. He would handle that right?
Oh, he'd love that.
All right, Chad. What about you, sir?
I like this movie. I had a good time watching it. It was entertaining. It's it's got its flaws like we talked about, but it also has that 70s aesthetic.
It does.
It's very much a 70s film. And despite those flaws too, I think it should be included in those 3 because we didn't get a whole gaggle of movies like this, back then. And I think this movie has influenced some of the movies that we get today. And I really enjoyed watching it. I like the characters a lot. I liked Angel. I liked, all the other characters, the weird Gabe Kaplan looking dude. They cut the skin off
That's awesome.
They cut the skin off her leg. I was like, welcome back, Cotter.
That's amazing.
And I thought he was just a quirky, funny character too. So it's got a lot of good characters in it. I like the ideas behind what was going on a lot. And I would have to say I recommend it because I had a good time watching it.
Yeah. If this movie was made just a few years later, the Coven would have won. Right?
That's a good point.
All right.
Possible.
Because it missed that downbeat ending.
That's true.
All right.
That much.
That much, exactly. All right, Bill.
I would say it's the least of the 3, but it's also the only one of the big 3, primal folk horror movies that actually has any supernatural elements. Neither Wicker Man nor Witchfinder General really have any supernatural elements. The evil is strictly human. And here we do it. So in that sense, the folk horror revival that we're seeing now with a lot of films kind of playing with that seem to have copied more The Blood on Satan's Claw than either of the other two. So maybe it may be the least in terms of quality, but it may be more influential for what it's worth. I like the film. I just feel like it skirts with greatness. And it's one of those ones, I'm not a big remake fan, but there are some that I could see doing a movie so different from this original one, just taking the skeleton and putting a whole different flesh on it, that you could come up with a really good movie. Yeah. So I've heard stories about them remaking this, but it's never really come to pass. So we'll see. It's kind of amazing to me that they haven't, but definitely worth seeking out. And if you're like, I imagine most of our listeners, a real student of horror, it's essential viewing.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, Jeff, sir, anything to add?
No, I'd just go along with what everybody else said. I enjoyed it. I think it would make a nice remake. I wished I would have known. I wouldn't mind watching it again now that I understand this. We're creating this Frankenstein Satan out of patches of fur or something.
Yeah, I wonder if I think it's actually a line of dialogue. Somebody out there knows, or I made it up as I was listening to. I was watching this.
No, you either that or I didn't understand what they were talking about.
Well, that's the movie's fault. You're an intelligent guy. You usually pick these things up pretty fast. So it's not clear. Anyway, it's not clear.
But I enjoy the overall storyline. I just think it could be so much more horrific, I guess, or more horror-like. They kind of talk, some of the stuff they talked about, they kind of made it sound like folk horror was a short-lived subgenre, but there's a lot
I don't know where they got that.
Folk horror, and that's what I really love that stuff, because it's usually modern anyway, is very atmospheric, which is the kind of stuff that I love. So
interesting. I wonder where Race with the Devil sits. Is that because it's anyway.
That's my number one.
Is it? Awesome. This film, it's the whole story structure kind of made it a challenge for me, but at the same time, I did enjoy watching it. I did enjoy aspects of it. My favorite scenes are in the attic with the whatever's underneath the floorboards. I thought that was really interesting because they give you just enough to make it weird and then leave you hanging there. I just wish some of the characters, the interaction between the characters was a little bit more sewn together somehow, and you understood
cohesive
when it transitioned from one to another. Because sometimes it feels like Peter's, and then sometimes it's it's Roger Daltrey, and other times it's a judge, and then then sometimes it's Margaret, right? So it's really strange. But it now looking back, I in hindsight, it's kind of the charm of it as well, right? Now, having said Quentin Tarantino out loud, I really want him to do it. Yeah. Like, oh man, he can really handle this structure because it needs that touch. Check it out. The hardest thing is finding it right now, because when we picked it, right, Jeff, it was available on 3 or 4 different.
I was all over the place. I was on Shudder for a long time, I swear.
Yeah, it was.
And then come September 1st, boop, disappeared.
The curse of Jeff.
I know it happens more than often.
It does.
Too often. But I think right now it's like the only legitimate streaming place was Tubi, right? That's where I watched it.
Yeah.
And it was a good copy.
Yeah. Tubi comes through in the clinch a lot of times.
Yeah. Just got to watch commercials.
You have to watch ads. But...
yeah, well.
Well. All right. Well, there you go. Check that movie out and leave us some comments down below. That was our review for Blood on Satan's Claw. No thee. Just blood on Satan's Claw. Jeff Mohr.
There are those some places.
Well, it's in the credits. It's in, I think they said I was reading that it was on the title card, but it's not. The movie isn't referenced with the. Jeff Mohr, we have some feedback, sir.
We do. These are some of these are kind of ongoing conversations, but this is one I missed for a while. So this is going back a little bit to episode 138 on Patrick.
Patrick,
Greg Miller, a listener from Australia, said, "Ooh, an Australian film. I'm not sure if there are any others. Razorback, maybe, but I'm too lazy to look." They were just kind of coming into their own. There are a few more.
There are. There's a small subgenre.
But I do remember we asked about the matron gives the nurse a hard time about thinking she's boss cocky now, or I'm boss cocky. He says boss cocky is a slang term originally meaning a farmer who employed workers, but stretched to cover anyone in charge of workers. It often has implications of being a bad boss. Cocky is short for cockatoo, a number of species of parrots native to Australia. Cocky is often used for anyone who lives in the country, so boss cocky makes sense, but there are plenty of cockatoos in urban areas. So I remember saying, boss cocky must be some kind of Australian slang. Maybe somebody can fill us in. And
It
Just so
sounds
you know,
Australian.
It does sound.
Greg
But if you
filled us
come to America and you use it, expect to get a lot of giggles. Just
Yeah.
These Americans
And then-
are awful false cocky around here.
So his comment about Australian horror films, and Bill Gabriel replies to that, said Road Games with Stacey
Games.
Keach.
Stacey Keach and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Blood Rights, I think.
And then speaking of Bill Gabriel, there's some other ones. There's a one that's just recently turned up that's on a lot of services, but I can't think of the name now.
Okay.
Jerry Chandler likes it a lot.
Of course he does.
I'm drawing a blank.
They'll tell us about 5 of them here now.
So we could Google it too, but we didn't. Episode 146, Messiah of Evil. Bill Gabriel again says, I freaking love that movie. I watch it about 2 times a month. Best time is late at night when its dreamlike quality seamlessly bleeds into your own dreams.
No.
I thought maybe he was going with puts me to sleep, but no.
Yeah.
The movie
Did he
theater
say
scene
twice a month?
Twice a month.
Did.
Twice a month, Bill.
Twice a month.
Bill.
The movie theater scene is creepy as hell. Does anyone else get a Giallo vibe from it?
Yeah.
A Jello what?
Giallo vibe.
Oh, Giallo. I'll take lemon, please.
Giallo. So anyway, yes, we do. Thanks, Bill. And then we had I thought was a worthwhile comment to share on an ongoing conversation. 144, the little girl who lives down the lane, if you guys remember, Joan Sherwood said, "Oh my gosh, this film, I loved it. The only film I can recall with a bigger creeper factor was Sweet Hostage with Linda Blair and Martin Sheen. Just so wrong. Why is Sheen getting all these child predator roles?"
Let the conspiracies begin.
Yeah. So I had replied to her and said, I checked out Sweet Hostage. I can only say it managed to skeeve out this Grue Crew member. You are so right. And then she replies to that and says, seriously, that movie should be just called Look How Effed Up We Were in the 70s.
Oh, man.
Wow. Okay, now I want to see it.
Yeah, that's the one where he's like an escaped convict and kidnaps the high school girl, and then she falls in love with him. He's like 30 something and she's 15 or 16 or something. So anyway, it's
what in the hell is this world coming to?
Yeah. He does a good job. I mean, I don't think we don't want to cast aspersions on Martin.
No.
But he does a good job because he has that ability. He's got kind of even as he gets older, a boyish charm, but he can turn on the scary pretty fast.
Yeah.
And you look at him in, say, The Dead Zone, where he's playing a glad-handing politician, but as soon as we see him when there's not cameras around, the facade drops and we see what he's really like. He's really good at that. And that's if you're going to have someone who's a child predator, that's the kind of actor you need. Someone who can play both those roles.
Yep. He survived
Well, and
apocalypse now, so that's good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barely,
And if you're,
barely, right?
Mhm.
Didn't he suffer
you
a heart
should
attack
have
and
felt
everything?
uncomfortable. You should have felt uncomfortable when you watched it then, but even more so now, I think, in
Yeah.
a modern culture environment.
Mm.
Anyway, look how effed up we were in the 70s.
Yeah.
Great.
Good title.
And now,
Yeah.
There-
Oh, we're
there's-
so much better now. Things are just going
yeah, I'm all
hunky-dory.
better now.
Yeah.
Now,
Golden
now
age.
we just watch them. We still watch them and go, "Oh, wasn't that terrible?"
Yep.
All right, there you go. And with that, I think we're going to have to get out of here. Jeff, Chad, Bill, and of course Daphne. Thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
It sure was.
Yes. Thanks for coming,
Next
Daphne.
episode.
It's always awesome seeing you guys.
Well, I'm all about cats. So next one is a little Dario Argento movie called Cat o' Nine Tails, and I've actually never seen it.
Oh,
So that was another reason why I picked it.
You
Will
were just. I'm sorry.
Will I regret the decision? Tune in a couple of weeks and find out.
You were just burning for more James Franciscus after Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
That's right. James Franciscus, Cats, Argento. It's the trifecta of Wynne. So, or is it? We'll find out.
Pray for us now.
Yeah.
All right, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night, folks.
Good night, everybody.
Gruesome Magazine.